Hi guys, hi ladies, welcome back to another video. If this thing goes on much further, I'm actually going to trust my husband to cut my hair with the dog grooming kit. So I really need a haircut. I'm sure you guys are all getting through, but nice to see you again. Let's do our 5 deep breaths, and then today we are going to be talking about optimism and pessimism and what the heck that has to do with addictions and you. So, 5 deep breaths, you know the drill, right? Get that oxygen flowing through your body, give your cells what they need, and also give you that time of mindfulness and focus. So, remember the trick to these is long, slow, deep breaths. You want to fill up your lung tissue, and your lung tissue actually goes from all the way up here down to your belly. So really fill up those lungs, get them working well. So nice deep breath in. Hold at the top and out. And again in. And out. And in. Out. You don't do the hand motions if you don't want to. It's just to kind of remind you where we are in the cycle. 2 more. In. And out. Last one. Really try to release everything else except the focus on your breath. In. And out. I'm going to start the day with these lovely glasses. Little nursing glasses, right? To keep things from splashing in your eyes. But I'm wearing these. I wish I had 2 different pairs. Because I want the idea that we're looking at today is, what's the lens you're looking through? And you guys who've been in my class know that I like to call them, are you looking through shit-colored glasses? Or are you looking through clear glasses? Or are you looking through slightly rose-colored lenses? And despite the fact that these are clear and you might think, oh, I want to see reality clearly, what we're going to talk about today is actually the benefit of taking off or cleaning off the shit-colored lenses and replacing them either with the clear reality-based lenses or even the slightly rose-colored glasses. And when we say rose-colored glasses, what we mean is someone who has just a little bit of a positive spin on things. And we'll talk about that, why that might be a good thing. So, nice glasses, right? I'm sure you're all jealous. You want those instead of the ones the junk gives you. So today, as we look at this idea of learned optimism, learned pessimism, and really the pessimism comes naturally. So as we talk about optimism and pessimism, we're going to work it into these things called the 3 P's and LIT. I first had it TIL, T-I-L, but I'm like, LIT works as well because you're often lit up on a whole bunch of negative stuff when you're in that thing with problems. So, 3 P's. Now these are flipped whether you're a pessimist or an optimist. So that's why they're just on here, and we'll talk about what's what in a minute. So the 3 P's, when we talk about the 3 P's in a minute, they are permanent, personal, and pervasive. Permanent just means, oh my God, this is going to last forever. Personal means this always happens to me. It's happening to me. It's about me. And pervasive means global. It's kind of like, well, if one thing happens, it's going to affect everything. It's like, one drop of, black ink in a clear pool, makes colors at all. Or one red, leaky red sock in the laundry will pervasively make everything pink if you wash them wrong. Now, in terms of LIT, this means limited scope. Instead of pervasive, it affects everything. It's like, oh, That's contained. So say you have a red sock that's color fast that doesn't affect anything, you throw it in with a white load, oh, you get whites and you stick with color. Just limited to that red sock, right? Limited scope. Impersonal, hey, this is that bond with common humanity. This happens to everybody. This isn't about me, this just happens. And temporary means, yeah, this is happening now. It won't last forever. Okay, so the 3 P's, or lit, or till, because that's how I have it on some of my things. So let's first talk about when I say pessimism or shit-colored lenses, and for people who don't like that word, that wasn't really so much of a cuss word in my house, even though my mom did not cuss at all. So, and even my husband's grandma, who was just like this, really such a sweet lady, she even said that that was her one word that she said. So I never think of it as bad, but you can translate it into crap. I'll use crap, I guess, somewhere through this one too. But when you're wearing crap colored lenses, right, you're seeing everything through that. What you do is you take in things and you process them through this lens of crap. And so what happens is, say a problem happens, an issue happens, a struggle happens, a setback happens. And you go instantly, when you're in that one, you go, problems are seen through the lens of the 3 P's. So in the pessimism, what you say is, oh my God, right? I don't get, probation doesn't approve the plan I thought they were going to improve. So you see it through those crap colored lenses and you run the 3 P's. Oh my God. I can't believe this. I can't believe they're picking on me. The other guys did just the same thing, and how come they got a better sentence? So you take it personally. It's about me, right? And then you take it as permanent, like, oh my God, this always happens to me. You know what? I can't catch a break, right? Everyone else can, but no, these things just keep happening. And people sometimes say, I'm a shit magnet. Guess what? When you're looking through those color of lenses, that's how you see things. I draw these things to me. You think it's personal, it's permanent, it always happens to me, things are never going to get better, and then you think it's pervasive. So one thing goes wrong. So you feel uncomfortable about something. Something isn't going well, and what do? Instead of going, hey, this happens to everybody or whatever, you turn it into something that it's permanent. This is going to happen, everywhere to everything I do. Everything I touch turns to poop instead of everything I touch turns to gold. So you see problems from this pessimistic standpoint. Now here's kind of the trick of evolution and just of human nature. Most people tend to be born seeing the world a little bit through those brown colored lenses, right? Those crap colored lenses, because human beings are kind of hardwired to walk into a situation and say, what's wrong with this picture? Remember those little seek and find things and the little children's magazines? What's wrong with this picture? And there's a fork in the tree or whatever. But we kind of are in survival mode. And remember, when you've been traumatized or when you've had chaos in your life and you haven't had that safety and that security and that ability to regulate your emotions, which we've talked about, when you have all that going on, you see life as a survival mode thing. So in survival mode, you walk into a situation and you say, hey, what's wrong with this picture, to keep yourself safe. So that's why you see problems in that way. So most people are born a little bit that way, and that's why we talk about optimism having to be learned a lot of times, especially if you grew up in a chaotic family or an inconsistent family or a family that was really into one up, one down, putting you down, all that kind of stuff. So that's the thing with pessimism. When you're looking through those lenses, you look for the things that are wrong, and then you see them as being personal, permanent, and pervasive. Now, what happens to a person with those, crap-colored lenses on when something good happens, right? Maybe their probation thing is actually kind of shorter than they thought, or they give them less classes than they thought they would have, or whatever the deal is. They'll often say they're often waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And they'll often say something like, yeah, this is where they use the lit, right? They're like, yeah, so they gave me less classes than the other people, but I'm sure they'll pull more UAs on me and I'll have to spend all that money, right? You think it's limited. If something good happens, you think, well, that one good thing happened, but it's just one little teeny thing out of this whole big mess, right? This whole big stinking pile of poo-poo that is my life. The other thing is, your successes, you don't take them personally. You don't say, hey, here's what I did to make that happen. You're like, well, even a blind dog finds a bone sometime, right? You just make it impersonal. It's like, my successes have nothing to do with me, so I lucked out this time, I won't luck out next time, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have anything that you can kind of repeat because you make it impersonal. And the last one is you make it temporary. Oh, sure, that one good thing happened, but you know it won't last. It never lasts for me. Just when I think I'm getting ahead of things, everything goes downhill. Okay? So that's that pessimism. Now, they actually found, the guy who studied this, really brought this to light, was a guy named Marty Seligman. And he first studied this thing called learned helplessness. I have to check my little timer, and I think I put it on the wrong thing, so let me there we go. He first studied learned helplessness. He wanted to see how people got to a state where they felt they could not take action for their own lives. And he did a lot with battered women, people who were abused in relationships. Why didn't they leave? And he found, he did this research with dogs, which would never be allowed now, but he did it, where they put dogs in these electrified kind of enclosures. And some of the dogs could get out of the enclosure when the shock was applied to the floor, and some of the dogs could not get out. Well, what happened is, at the beginning, all the dogs tried to get out of the shocking environment, right? Now, pretty soon, the dogs that learned when the shock came they could get out, they never learned to be helpless. But the dogs who couldn't escape eventually wouldn't even try. They would just lay there and take it because they're like, nothing I do is going to make a difference. So if you have learned helplessness in your life, if you kind of like, anything I do is not going to work, the bad things always happen to me, the good things never last. If you have that kind of helplessness, you often won't even take action in your own behalf. And actually the dogs, then they would open the door and the dog still wouldn't come out. Then they realized they could teach these helpless dogs to get out of that situation, but it took work, it took effort. So think about that. If in your head you're saying, I always relapse, I've tried this a bunch of times, you know it's not going to work, I do really well, then I self-sabotage, all those kinds of things, you're kind of like that dog in that electrified cage who thinks nothing I do is going to work, so you're just going to stay there. What they had to do, though, they actually had to kind of drag these dogs out of there over and over. Shock, drag the dog out, shock, drag the dog out, shock, until the dogs went, oh, I can change this. And that's a lot of what I'm asking you to do when we do these videos or when we're in class. To at least be willing to say, yeah, I'm so used to looking at the world through these shit-colored lenses that I don't even know that there's a different world I could see. So every time you do something, it's like cleaning it off, cleaning it off, cleaning it off, seeing things in a different light so you can take action in your own behalf. And as you do that, you do what we call learning optimism, right? So optimism, on the other hand, does just the opposite, right? 3 P's and the lit, right? Optimism, when a success happens, the learned optimist, and we call it learned because you might have to talk yourself through it. So something good happens, instead of saying, oh, well, even a blind dog finds a bone, sometimes you say like, hey, make it personal. Wow, you know what? This is really good. I've been making a lot of moves lately. I've been catching my negative thoughts. I've been changing them. I'm working really hard, and I think it's paying off. It's paying off. So make it personal. Tie it to the effort you're making when good things happen. Okay? So successes, make them personal. Make them pervasive. When one good thing happens, say to yourself, wow, I'm making all these changes. How can I apply this in other areas of my life? Right? Or where else are things looking? And this is where that gratitude often comes in. If you start looking for things to be grateful for in all areas of your life, it starts to spread out. It's not just this one incident. It's like, wow, I gave myself praise for that, I acknowledged myself for that, and then I had a better attitude, and then I dealt with this situation better, and then this happened. Make it spread out in your life. That's that pervasiveness. So you see the successes as spreading out instead of the problems. And finally, so you've made it personal, you've made it pervasive, and then permanent. You say, hey, you know what? I think things are on an upward swing. And yeah, I'll have bumps in the road, but the bump's not the road. The bump is just a bump. So that's when you get that permanent thing, like, overall, it's a good thing. And I had someone say, because I've had different things happen in my life and those kinds of things, and just weird little health things. Like I've had open heart surgery, which, like, and I was diagnosed with diabetes even though I ate healthy and all this. And someone said to me one day, like, oh my God, with this and this and this, aren't you ever going to catch a break? And I looked at her, and in that minute, I thought, oh, my optimism kicked in, my little rose-colored lenses. I said to her, maybe my whole life's been a frickin' break, right? Because when I was born, I weighed 3 pounds, 4 ounces. I was just a little teeny, scrappy baby. So maybe all those things are the break, right? That, so I keep my diabetes under control, and my heart got fixed. Thank God they have, heart surgery, and all these kinds of things. So in that moment, for me, that was a real moment of, oh my God, I've made some of that switch from that normal pessimism. Pessimism also looks a lot like worrying, or naysaying, or being the yes but person. Someone brings something up, yeah, I could do that, but it won't work. I could do that, but it's stupid, right? So it's that learned optimism part. So the successes you give the 3 Ps to, and then the get framed as limited, impersonal, and temporary. That's what I'm saying, is the path is positive, and then something bad happens and you say, wow, good thing I'm doing all this other work, because this part really sucks. Being walloped with this whole pandemic, the whole world, this part sucks, right? But it's not my whole life. There's lots of good things going on. What can I do, right? You see it as impersonal. This really is impersonal. It ain't just hitting me. It ain't just hitting you. It's hitting everybody. It's a pandemic. It's around the world. But, you see problems as impersonal. Hey, every life has some problems, right? And then you see it as temporary. That, yeah, this might be a rough patch. It won't last forever. And I can keep making the efforts to see the positive overall path of things. And what I mean by rose-colored lenses is they've shown that people who see a situation as slightly more positive than it is. We're not talking flaming pink glasses, like, the person, you meet the guy and your friends are like, I'm not sure, and the person's like, well, I know he doesn't have a job and he has 6 kids by 6 different baby mamas, and, he's an alcoholic and drug addict and he's got a long sentence, but we'll work it out, right? We're not talking the crazy kind of flaming rose-colored lenses that says deny all the negative and just see everything like, everything's great. We want it slightly rose-colored. And what they found is that people who see things as slightly more positive than they are actually do things better, like when people were in sales and they worked on commission. They got higher commissions. They made more sales, right? Because they saw it as slightly more positive. They didn't think every customer I call is going to make a purchase, because when cold calling, they know that it takes usually at least 10 no's to get to a yes. Even, say you're, doing solar panels. What are they calling for these days, for people even to hear your little spiel, you'll probably get 10 no's slammed down the phone before you get one yes. So it's not that they're unrealistic, but they're like, hey, they're making those calls and they're going, hey, 2 no's down, 8 more to go, right? Or whatever the deal is. Or if they're on a really long stretch, they're like, hey, my one, I'll listen to your spiel, is coming up. So it's that slightly more positive thing. So they make more money. Teams, they actually analyze sports teams. This is really interesting. What the teams were saying going into the season and how they were framing the season. The teams that were not just like, of course, we're going to kill everyone, we're going to do the best. Those teams didn't do the best. But the teams that were slightly optimistic, they were really, stressing their strengths and being positive, they did better at the end of the season. They could kind of track their progress through the season based on that. Versus some teams kind of had a, well, we're going to do our best, but, and they did it at different levels. So it wasn't professional levels, like college level and high school level. So it's interesting because even teams had that same kind of thing. So when you're working on a project, or big thing in families, families who have that slightly optimistic attitude that, hey, we'll work this out no matter what. We're not denying there's problems, but hey, we're going to work through this, tend to do better. So to teach yourself to start putting on those rose-colored lenses, that really ties in with that idea of paying attention to your inner chatter. What is it you say to yourself? What is it you say when you're successful? What do you say to yourself when you run into problems? And see if you can really capture that inner talk. And if that inner talk Come on, little phone, tell me where I'm at. If that inner voice has all those, if you notice you're slipping into that problems are the 3 P's and successes are the lit, see if you can switch those around. Can I take a problem and run it through, this is limited, this is impersonal, right? And this is temporary. And when I have a success, can I really try to, in my head, identify what that inner critic is saying and talk back to it? Say, you know what? No, I have been doing really well. Sure, and then if you have a setback, like, yeah, I had a setback, and people have setbacks. Lots of people have setbacks. It's impersonal, right? Just because I slipped on this one thing doesn't mean I'm letting the whole thing go to hell, right? And that this too shall pass. I will work my way through this, and I will do the next right thing. I'll take the next step to get where I'm going. So all of this, optimism and pessimism, is really going to involve being very conscious of what glasses you're wearing. Because if you've been wearing a certain pair of glasses for a long time, maybe you're the denier who wears those, fuchsia pink glasses and tries to always say everything's going to be all right, even when you need to get some work done to make it all right. It's not just going to fall out from the sky. So whether you have those glasses or you have, the crap-colored lenses on, it kind of seems natural after a while. That's how you've seen the world for so long. And if any of you have ever had to get glasses, it's kind of like, you're going through life, this is how you see the world. And then when maybe you go down to get your driver's license and they say, whoa, you need corrective lenses or you can't drive, right? And you go in there and they fit you with the corrective lenses and you're like, wow, the world looks different than I thought. You get used to seeing the world through one set of lenses and you don't even bother questioning that. So start questioning your lenses and say, what would happen if? What would happen if I put on my little, slightly pink lenses and looked at this situation? What would I be saying to myself? What would I be doing? What would I be saying about the problems? What would I be saying about the successes? And another thing when you're talking back to that critic, you really have to tune into, we call it monitoring your inner chatter. What is it you're saying when you talk to yourself? Write it down and then figure out, is it true, and what do I need to do to talk back to it? And we'll do some tapes on that too, because we go through that in class as well. But what am I actually saying to myself when I talk to myself? Now, if you do talk to yourself, are you crazy? No. Everyone talks to themselves. What if you answer yourself? You're crazy, right? Nope, still not crazy. What if you laugh at your own jokes? Are you crazy? Nope. You can even laugh at your own jokes. A lot of comedians, that's how they come up with material, right? So, now hearing voices, if I think that pillow over there is talking to me, or I'm broadcasting my thoughts and I can make that pillow, do something, then I'm looking at psychotic kind of stuff. Then I need to get help with that. And we've talked about that in class. Some of the people in here are struggling with that and are learning how to work with, is that psychotic voice, or is this my inner chatter voice? So, is it from inside of me? What is it telling me? And how can I then talk back to it? Now, the other thing is, when you're putting on those rose-colored lenses, look at your successes that way. That gives you ways to praise that as well. Last little part, how do those inner chatter voices get in our heads in the first place? Well, a lot of them come from when we're really small children. So, what did your parents tell you a lot? What were their messages? And not just directly to you, but how did they kind of talk to themselves? If they did something, and were they like, oh, God, what an idiot, right? Or were they like, hey, good effort, man, that didn't work, but okay, what do I need to do now? Really notice not only what they said to you, but kind of what they said all the way around. The other places to look are, what did your church tell you? What did your school tell you? What messages did you get from your community, right? So those are the kinds of things. So monitor that inner chatter and start saying, what lens am I looking at the world through? And do I need to clean my lenses, change my lenses, switch up my lenses? Okay. So I think that's where we're going to end for today, because we have several other things coming, including how to kill ants, Daniel Amen's term for automatic negative thoughts, and it involves a lot of what we talked about today, and empathy and communication skills. So we're going to work on those soon. So hope you're doing well, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.